Hey, this is Pastor Chad Shapiro, pastor of Connect, which is launching digitally around the world, and Ignite Community Church. I'm blessed to be here on the digital dive with Albert Diaz from SABA, Eric Hilgers as well. These guys are absolutely phenomenal. We're going to start it off with Hilgers giving us some of the Hilgy magic that he's got, that rapping that he's got. So no, I'm just kidding. We're not going to
No, I
start off
can't.
with
I
that.
can't freestyle. No, I got nothing. Whenever I get asked to freestyle, I just completely blank.
Okay, so we're not going to start with that, but we are going to start with encouraging you to share this out there or like it if you see it on social media. If you're watching or listening on the radio, that's terrific too. But we want to have a good, relaxed environment of being able to handle some of these things that are sometimes not so relaxed digitally. How to go forward, and this particular segment we've been on has been talking about bunts versus home runs. And so how do we handle the baby steps? And if you missed the last couple weeks, these guys were going at it and sharing some incredible ideas. I was watching my wife rewind and fast forward, and you'll get it, hear it again and pause it and all that stuff from the different things that we're sharing. So I encourage you to go back and try to look at it again. Today, I was going to lead off talking about from a church planter perspective digitally, and just not being afraid to jump in and start somewhere. I think sometimes, especially as leaders, we're so afraid to make mistakes that the idea of bunting is not, it's not part of our thought process. We want to be jacking those home runs over the wall, and so we don't take the little grind steps to do it. So like for instance, our church that's been meeting just for a couple of years, we have been doing Facebook Live on a cell phone, and just excited to start somewhere. And I know many of us have had to do things like that with COVID. You guys, with COVID coming, did you see like an onslaught of churches rushing to figure out how to stream, or how was that like?
Yeah, I think the first couple of months, uh, when we first got into that lockdown, like early March of last year or mid March, whenever that first one was, I think we spent probably the next, what, 2 months, Eric,
Mm-hmm.
working with churches one on one with how to stream, but even other things like online giving. We just weren't set up for it. Some churches didn't have an online giving method. They didn't have any web presence, no website. Uh, we even help pastors get their first email address
Yeah,
in a couple of cases.
that's
So
awesome.
go from I've never had an email address, but I need to stream my service. That's extremely intimidating. So I'm really glad that we were able to kind of step in and help. And then some of the other pastors were helping out other pastors, just with these little questions about how do I even get online? What is a web presence? First of all, why do I need it? Because this is going to be over in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Remember, 2 weeks and we flatten the curve and then we're done. That was a year ago. So
yeah,
yeah, the
yeah,
2 weeks turned into 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, and a couple of months into it, we were still getting calls, and I want to say maybe towards mid to late last year, we had a whole nother influx of calls coming in. And that was because some congregations kind of held out and they said, okay, this is 2 weeks, this will be over in a month, this will be over. And then when this thing kind of started drawing out and going longer and longer and longer, started to realize, well, this is going for the long haul. We really need to figure out a way to continue the engagement with our congregants and continue the teaching and do more than just a live stream.
yeah,
Because we don't want a Netflix church. That's not what this is about. We want a immersive, interactive environment where the person that is watching on a screen, like we're on screens, is actually engaged and just as involved if they were there. And that's what's really cool about the Connect Church, because this total digital format and the engagement that's built into it, it's just like a brick and mortar congregation. And it's really
yeah.
So these tools that we can use for the streaming, but not only for streaming now, for communication, for online giving, for just keeping track of people is great. There's tons of little ideas and little things that we can do out there to to kind of digitize some of the things we do. Even like
Yeah.
a Tuesday tea time, you know, you can have a group get together and still have virtual coffee or virtual tea. You can have their like we have a Tuesday night men's Bible study, and it's all the men's. The ladies have their ladies Bible study on a different night. They have tea times, and there's different things. There's even a like a Thursday hangout, where basically it's just an open Zoom lounge, and you come in, you bring your cup of coffee, and you sit down, and you see who's there, and just kind of talk. It's like talking before the service in the lobby of the church.
That's awesome.
So just these little, there's a lot of little things that we can do like that. That they're the bunts,
Mhm.
because that's getting people on base,
Yeah.
and that's really going to help us to hit that home run.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
know, some congregation may be in a great financial spot where they say, "Oh, we need streaming, we need this," and they're given a credit card, and they say, "Okay, go buy what we need."
Mhm.
But I think what 98% of the congregations are not in that boat where it's okay, here's your card, go get what we need, or call
You're right.
somebody and have them install it. You know,
Mhm.
well, most of our congregations, including I think ours, is at the point where it's like we have to buy components piece by piece. So that's what's great about these bunts, because one bunt might be your camera, and now you're streaming. The second bunt might be a laptop dedicated just for streaming. A third bunt might be some software like OBS and ProPresenter, things like that. And you know, we keep getting these people on base. So then at the end of it, when we hit that ball, that home run is hit, we have 4 runs coming in, not
Yeah.
just,
Mhm.
you know, because
Right.
we put all these little components in place. All these little bunts got us on base,
Mhm.
and then eventually our home run hitter is going to come up and knock that thing out of the park, and everybody gets to come home.
Yeah.
So I really think that those little steps are crucial.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
you know, even if it's a tiny little step like a Tuesday night or Tuesday afternoon ladies tea time,
Yeah.
little things
That's
like
cool.
that. You know, we have shut-ins that haven't had much communication. We have elderly members that haven't had much communication outside of them. And if they can get together and have coffee and tea with some of the other wives or some of the other ladies from the church, I mean that's great. That's connection. You know,
Mhm.
that is not as good as going and sitting in the living room and talking with them, but it's pretty close because there's
Yeah.
still face to face there.
Yeah, I think one of the key things, and maybe we could have started this 2 or 3 weeks ago, is just psychologically not being afraid to make the mistakes. You know, that's the idea of a quick little bunt. You know, that failing, or starting something that doesn't go forward enough. Um, I one of in business, they say just ship it, just go, because you're going to learn along the way to be able to do it. And I think often when we're trying to embrace some of these ideas, we're so scared to make a mistake. And we got to be teaching our churches that this digital stuff is going to be constantly evolving. Eric, with you and being able to make videos and stuff, I'm sure there was a time where you just did not know how to do it, just like anything, right? And or the software, the things have changed along the way. And instead of talking about the actual hardware products, can you maybe just talk about the idea of evolving and that of what you started with without knowing anything,
Yeah.
and somebody on their staff or even themselves will have to be ready to start somewhere. Could you
Yeah.
talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Yeah, when I think of like little evangelism bunts, I think of like starting off with like a web presence, because if people don't know you exist, they might not come to your front door. Nowadays, the front door of the church is potentially a website. So maybe starting off with Wix. Wix is a very user-friendly website to be able to drag and drop and build. in terms of video equipment. I started off with my cell phone, just going around to different church youth groups and recording off my cell phone, and then actually editing it on a $6 program or $6 app on my iPhone called iMovie. So that's where I started. After that, I borrowed cameras from the church. So I used to borrow these TI Rebel 3. They were like $300 cameras, and I would grab snag footage at different events and different youth rallies and stuff like that. And then the bump up from the iMovie app, I believe I used it was some video editing software for Apple. I believe it was iMovie for a desktop now. So then I moved up to that. And yeah, I think, Chad, what you're saying, like not being scared to start off or fail is so important in terms of video editing or like the little bunts, because, you know, if you never get started, you know, you're never going to grow. And technology is consistently evolving. So just taking those small steps and slowly learning more about the program and the software and the hardware, man, you can really make an impact if you just get started, if you just take that leap of faith and start small. So right now, after the iMovie, right now I do a lot of the Final Cut editing and stuff like that. That's kind of where I spend most of my time, is Final Cut. I'm not a huge guru in streaming, but I'm a huge guru in the content creation. And even just taking pictures from a cell phone is a little bunt you could do to post on the website or post on Facebook so that people see. And another thing with the content is consistent content. You know, you don't want to just post one picture or one small video like once a month. You want to stay in people's faces to be evangelistic and outreach and let people know what you're doing. There is a little balance to that, because you don't want to overwhelm people, but you don't want to not show up on the timeline or the news feed. So